Have you ever walked into a home and instantly felt warm, welcome, and at ease? There's just something about certain homes that make you feel like you actually belong there and that you feel so comfortable there. And for me, that's my grandma's house. We call her Grams. No matter who you were or when you showed up, her home was always that place of comfort and love to everyone that ever stepped foot in her home. And the best part of it was that it wasn't about fancy decor in her house or a picture-perfect space that was spotless from top to bottom. It was about the simple things that she did every single day to make others feel seen, cared for, and welcomed. And to this day, she's one of the most precious and treasured people in my life. So today, I thought it would be a great time to share 5 powerful lessons that I learned by observing my grandma that you can use to create a home that feels just as inviting to you and the people that come into your home. So let's dive into that. Hey friend, welcome to Modern Homemaker Mom. Feeling stuck in the chaos? Do you find yourself in survival mode juggling all the things? If you're ready to regain control of your home, schedule, and time for yourself, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jynae, a wife, mom, and homemaker who turned my household chaos into purpose with simple, flexible routines. I'm here to help you create a cozy, clutter-free home and reclaim your time for what matters most. In this podcast, you'll find episodes around home routines, cycle syncing, and self-care practices so that you can eliminate the overwhelm and create a home that you love. Go grab that laundry basket and let's get started. Before we jump in, I want to ask you a super quick favor. If you have been enjoying this podcast, could you take just a quick minute to leave me a review? Your review helps my podcast grow and reach more women just like you who want to create that peaceful and welcoming home for themselves and for their families. Plus, I absolutely love hearing your feedback. It really warms my heart to see what's resonating with you. So if you take a second to leave your feedback, it would mean so much to me. I would be so grateful to you. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so happy that you stumbled across my show. I'm Jynae Schmid, your host, and I am obsessed with creating a calm and peaceful atmosphere in your home that not only you love, but your family loves. You feel like you can just fall back on it and relax. Truly, you love being in your home. It's your sanctuary, and I'm all about making things simple. So welcome. I really hope and pray that this episode today will bless you. Okay, so let's talk about the topic I have at hand today about how we're going to go about creating a warm and inviting home by learning lessons that I picked up from my grandma. So just to give you a bit of a backstory, there's just this one place in my life that no matter what happens, no matter how much time goes by, this place always has felt like home to me, and that's my Gram's house. It's always been a place of stability and comfort for me, a place where I know that the very moment I walk in, it just seems like my stresses just roll off my back. They just fall off my shoulders. They disappear. I can truly breathe and relax and just be myself. And when I was a little girl, I always used to wish that I could just spend all of my time there, all of my days at my grandma's house, because it was just such a special place for me to be. Growing up, she always invested in me and my siblings in so many different ways, whether that was sleepovers that we had all the time, baking cookies sitting on her counter, coloring at the kitchen table, or even taking picnics and petting the horses that they had out in the pasture on their acreage. And to me, these weren't just activities that we did. They became these core memories that really actually shaped my childhood. But beyond the things that we actually did with her, what it actually boils down to is how she made us feel. She had this very quiet, gentle presence, and she still does. I talk like she did. She still does to this day. This gentle and quiet presence that made everyone feel so safe and loved and truly valued. And it wasn't just us. Every single person who walked through her door felt this way. In fact, our friends didn't just call her by her first name. They also called her Grams, because that's exactly what she was to them as well. Thinking back to those core memories as a child, those special moments, I realized that it really wasn't about the house itself. It was about her, the way she welcomed people, the way she listened, the way she created this environment of peace and making you feel loved. And today, I wanted to share 5 lessons from my Grams that can help you create that same kind of warm, inviting home, no matter where you live. So let's talk about these 5 points. So the first lesson I learned from my grandma was everyone was always welcome. I don't think I've ever seen my grandma turn someone away from her door, whether you were a family, a friend, or a neighbor who was just stopping by because they're in the country, and sometimes people just stop by. Maybe it was the generation too, back before we hid when people came to our door. She just welcomed people into her home with open arms, and you were always greeted with a warm smile and an open door. There was no stressing about how clean the house was or if she was expecting company. If you showed up, you knew that you would be welcomed into her home. I remember so many times we'd have friends over, and without any hesitation, she would invite them to stay for supper. It didn't matter if she had only planned on feeding a few people or just planned on feeding me while I was staying there. She always made room for that extra guest. That kind of hospitality and generosity is something that I've carried with me personally, and it reminds me that creating a warm home is not about perfection. It's about making people feel like they truly belong. The second lesson I learned from my grandma about how to go about creating that warm and inviting home is there was always fresh baking to be had. I don't know about you, but I think that there's something special about the smell of fresh baking. It just makes the home feel cozier, and my grandma always had something on hand, whether it was warm cookies or fresh muffins. Oh, I just love her cinnamon muffins. Her cinnamon apple muffins, they are the best. Or the yummy caramel squares that she would make. There was always some kind of treat waiting for you in the kitchen. I loved sitting on the counter too as a little girl, watching her mix ingredients, and she would always let me sneak a taste of the cookie dough. But looking back, I realized it wasn't about the baking necessarily. It was about the act of giving that she portrayed. It was her way of making people feel special, of knowing love through something as simple as a homemade cookie. And while I may not bake as often as she does, as I'm in a very busy season of my life right now, I do try to keep little comforts in my home, homemade bread every now and then to enjoy with a special meal, or I do prioritize warm meals every single night on the table for my family and I to sit and enjoy together, because I know that those small touches make the house feel even more warm and inviting. And this leads me into my third point. The third lesson I've learned from my grandma is home-cooked meals really brought people together. Mealtime at my grandma's house was never just about eating, it was about the whole gathering. It was kind of like an event. The table was where we shared stories, we laughed, we connected. Oftentimes, sitting at the table was spent reminiscing about old memories and things that we used to love doing, or memories that she would talk about between her and my grandpa, who we call Pops. They would talk about the early days, and they would just laugh about the things that they loved doing when they were in their early 20s and growing up. And it's just so fun and so connecting to be able to just be so open with people, and you sit down and you talk about the good in life. It's not just always sitting around the table and talking about the heavy parts of our everyday, because yes, we have heavy parts of our life, but sometimes it's nice to just sit at the table, to gather the table together, enjoy a warm meal, and just reminisce about the things that make us happy. I can remember countless times sitting around her kitchen table feeling like I could just sit there for hours, because it was this space of connection. No one was ever rushing off to the next thing. Nobody was distracted. It was about sitting there and being present with each other. And that's something I've carried into my own home, because as I mentioned, I'm a busy mom. Life gets busy, but every single night when I sit down to eat together with my husband and my daughter, we just really prioritize being in each other's company without the distractions. We set our phones away, we turn off any notifications, and honestly, just being intentional with your family at mealtimes does not have to be family. It's the act of gathering in the first place and being intentional with each other that truly matters. Okay, the fourth lesson I learned from my grandma is a smile and a listening ear really goes a long way. Grams always had a way of making people feel like they actually mattered. She doesn't just hear you, she listens, and you can tell. There's a difference of people saying that they're listening, and you can actually tell when they truly are listening. When she listens, you feel safe, like what you're saying truly matters. She never rushed the conversations that I had with her. She never made me feel like I was a burden, and she always had the gentlest of ways to give advice, only when it was needed. She wouldn't abruptly insert her opinion unless it was asked for. But there were times where she would maybe bring something to my eyes, bring something to light that maybe I hadn't thought about, or maybe you should look at it for this perspective. And I was just always open to hearing what she had to say, because she gave me that true connection of listening to what it was I was saying to her. Even as kids, my siblings and I knew that we could trust her. She didn't easily get upset or frustrated with us, even if we were talking to her about something that we knew that we were in the wrong or probably wasn't a good thing that we just did. She would talk to us in a way that made us want to listen to her, because we had that respect for her. The kind of gentleness and presence that she gave to us is something that I admire so much about her. It's a really good reminder that sometimes the most inviting thing about a home isn't what's in it, it's the people that are in it. A warm home is built by how we treat those around us. It's in the way that we take time to listen, to be present, to greet the people in our homes with kindness, and to make them feel like they are truly valued. All right, the fifth and final lesson I learned from my grandma is she gave more than she took. This is really a big one. And when I think of my grandma, I think this is one of the main character qualities I think of her when I picture her in my head. Grams, to me, is one of the most selfless people on this earth that I know. She has always, always, always put others before herself. Not because she had to, though. It was because she truly finds joy in serving people. And you can tell it's just, she has this glowing smile on her face. And you just know that she's happy to just show up and be there and serve. Whether it was making meals for her husband, her family, me and my siblings, her grandkids, or volunteering at the thrift store in town, or maybe even simply making sure that people felt loved when they were in her home, she never expected anything in return. She taught me that a warm home isn't just about making things comfortable for yourself, it's about making others feel cared for as well. It's about looking for little ways to serve the people around you. It doesn't always have to be this bold, extravagant thing. It's often the little details. And another thing I want to mention is it doesn't mean that we have to be giving of ourselves all the time. It's about doing those small, like I said, those small daily acts of kindness, being consistent in the small things, bringing a coffee to a friend or writing a quick love note to your spouse on the fridge. That's something I love doing. Or offering to help someone without being asked. Those are very little things, but they really matter and they make a difference. And they are what makes a home feel truly warm and welcoming to the people who live in it and the people who come to visit. So in summary, the main 5 lessons that I've learned from my grandma, who is one of the biggest role models in my life, I actually really truly strive to be just like my grandma. And as I create this home of my own, I make this atmosphere of peace and this peaceful sanctuary for me and my family. I'm often reflecting to my grandma. Of course, I'm also reflecting to my mom, but in this case of today's episode, I'm talking about my grandma specifically because her simple actions that I saw growing up right from a little kid to right now, today, the present, she's still the same person now as she was before. And these 5 things I shared with you today are lessons that I've learned that I have brought with me into my own home as I am homemaking and creating that home for my family. So in summary, to just remind you of what those 5 lessons were, the first lesson I said was everyone was always welcome. The second one is there was always fresh baking to be had. The third point was home cooked meals brought people together. The fourth was a smile and a listening ear goes a super long way. And the fifth one was she gave more than she took. And I really think that the last one is the best one and the most important one. I really think that as young women, it's so important to look to the older women in our life, the women who have gone through the childbearing years, the women who have raised up their kids, they sent their kids off, the children left the nest, and then they welcomed in grandkids and they watched their grandkids grow. I think it's so important to really sit and reflect on what those people did right and the things that really stood out to you about those people in your life, because there's so much that we can learn and grasp and apply to our own lives from those women in our lives. You know, like Titus 2, the Titus 2 women, they're supposed to share the guidance and the wisdom to the younger women. And I think that that kind of thing is so invaluable. So if this episode today inspired you, chances are it will encourage someone else as well. Take a second to send this episode to a friend who could use a little warmth and inspiration today. You never know how much it might mean to them. I've personally always been a sucker for hearing about lessons people learn from their grandparents. So I think that this episode today could really bless someone else in your life. Remember, a warm and inviting home isn't about what you have necessarily, it's about how you make the people in it feel. It's in the open door, the small comforts, the time that you spend together as a family, and the way that you love and serve those around you. These 5 lessons that I shared with you today from my grandma have shaped the way that I see a home and my homemaking, and I hope that they inspire you to bring a little more warmth into your home as well. Before you go, if this podcast has encouraged or helped you in any way, the best way that you can show your support is by subscribing to the show and leaving a written 5-star review. Your words truly make my day and remind me why I love sharing here. You can also snap a screenshot of this episode and share it with a friend or post it to your Instagram stories. Make sure to tag me at Her Stable Home. Thanks so much for listening, friend. I will see you next time.